Left of the box. Yeah, let's get into a little bit more of Pierre Poilievre.
The Honorable Pierre Poilievre. Praise the Lord. Will you stand? Hallelujah.
Pierre Poilievre was in church last Sunday, not just one, but three evangelical churches, where he was greeted as a political savior.
And I'm believing God that the next Prime Minister will be the one to turn things around.
Amen. Tax exempt status should be gone now. Remove it right now. Just get rid of it. Pierre wasn't there to just say hi to people. This was a political campaign stop.
Poilievre spread the conservative gospel.
The good news is, Canada, our home, was not like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like it after he's gone.
The media is not invited to these events, but a speech posted online by one of the churches shows Poilievre saying the same kinds of things he says at any political rally or in Parliament.
We need to become the freest country on earth, free, for you are free to speak your mind, to raise your children with your own values on matters of gender and sexuality.
But visiting evangelical churches is a groundbreaker for a Canadian political leader.
The trick is to...
Maybe because you're not supposed to be doing that, because churches have tax exempt status, and to use it as a campaign stop, it's you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe that's why it's so groundbreaking that it hasn't happened yet.
To do that without being tarred with a brush that you are an extremist, that you're a, American style Christian right ideologue, which I think is toxic in Canadian politics.
Even Stephen Harper, who was himself a member of an evangelical church, thought close associations with evangelicals might be a political liability.
I would say that there's some truth to that.
Andrew Enns was Harper's pollster and says Poilievre's breaking of this political taboo is significant.
It tells us that he's fairly comfortable and he's feeling fairly confident right now that he's got a message that Canadians, doesn't matter where they are, they're reacting well to.
Evangelicals at the elite level are a really important part of the conservative infrastructure. So if you look at Poilievre's his own mentors, people like Stockwell Day Sr., Preston Manning, so he is not himself an evangelical, but he's surrounded by people who are.
And these visits are important to religious groups like Cardis, a nonpartisan Christian think tank.
One thing that Christians, and particularly evangelicals, but Christians in general in Canada, I think are wanting right now is a little show of support for a community that has seen, I think, significant restrictions of their freedoms.
What restrictions of their freedoms are you talking about there? It's interesting that he says that, but then we don't get the follow-up of what restrictions are evangelical Christians up here facing? Because, allowing queer folks to marry, to live their lives as who they are and all that sort of stuff, that's not removing a freedom from evangelicals. They don't have to participate in queer stuff if they don't want to. So how exactly are their rights being infringed on versus queer folks and people who can get pregnant that risk not having clinics that they can go to in Canada? The rights of people with disabilities, living with disabilities, and our access to the health care we need to survive. What about our rights? What about the rights of the peaceful protesters that get trampled on? Those rights that are being taken away regularly. What rights have the evangelical Christians in this country lost? And the thing is that for the longest time, religion, for the most part, stayed out of Canadian politics. Now, not that I was too seriously invested in the political landscape here all the time, but it didn't seem to play a prominent role. Like, yes, Jagmeet Singh faces a lot of racism for being Sikh, but you know, trying to cater to evangelical Christians to get their votes, that hasn't really been a thing in this country. You know, playing to specific religious groups hasn't really been that big of a thing in this country. But it's becoming more of a thing. And we'll actually get into a little bit of Justin Trudeau and what he's done recently that just kind of irks me.
And evangelical Christians are not the political power here that they are in the United States. Here, they make up between 5 and 15% of the electorate. But they are all in on Poilievre. An Angus Reid Institute poll from April found that 75% of those who identify as evangelical are ready to vote Conservative versus just 5% who would vote for Justin Trudeau's Liberals. Donna.
And so here is, again, Poilievre saying he's a normal guy. The Liberal and the NDP are lunatics. So he's just throwing around ableist slurs. And is anybody going to call him out on that? People now want to wake up from this nightmare. That is what I offer them, says Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. So I guess he says, we can't go on like this. The situation is dire and people understand we cannot go on like this, says federal leader, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre, taking aim at the Prime Minister and his political pals, pointing to what is happening in this country. I'm the normal guy. Trudeau and the NDP are the wackos. They really want to make this word a thing. He's saying it all the freaking time. He wants wackos to be great again. I don't know. It's annoying how much he uses it, only because of how lame it is to use the word wackos over and over and over again whenever he's describing, you know, instead of just being bold and calling people the slurs and the offensive terms he wants, he just substitutes them all with wackos. They are the extremists. I'm the normal centrist mainstream leader. Normal. He's the normal one. Centrist mainstream leader that was cozying up with an extremist right-wing group and going to their trailer and stopping in to say hi. That is a centrist normal behavior there. So I'm the normal centrist mainstream leader, the only one running. The other guys are absolute raving wackos. They are ideological lunatics. Yeah. That's, again, very appropriate language for someone that's in the position to potentially become the next Prime Minister of Canada. To say first that they're happy a suspect is dead, and then also be calling their political rivals lunatics. That's some outstanding behavior there that we want to see in the leaders of our country. And then they're the ones that will cry victims when any sort of violence is inflicted. It is this type of rhetoric that emboldens the right-wing base. You know, you don't want somebody who's a wacko, who's a lunatic in power. No. You want somebody who is normal. He's normal. So normal. Just disgusting. You know, people with disabilities live with enough issues already. But, you know, calling people who don't suffer from mental health issues, who are completely able-minded people, calling them lunatics. Not cool. Not cool. So, and then he gets on with more name calling, more American style rhetoric. So we have this video here. So the media wants to make it sound like this is a constitutional obligation that we allow. Well, he says it in here.
Eric Andrew G, Globe and Mail. Your party hasn't actually said what your policy towards safe injection sites will be. So you want to close this one, but will you close others? What will you do around safe injection sites across the country?
I will be closing them. We will close safe injection sites next to schools, playgrounds, anywhere else that they endanger the public and take lives. We will defund. By the way, they're not safe injection sites. I'm sorry. I used your dishonest language.
Does the language he's using sound familiar? Calling out the media, telling them that they're dishonest? Safe injection sites, safe ingestion sites are called safe because they are.
You just repeat the language that is fed to you by the government. Are you a CP? Are you a CP?
CP?
Who are you with?
Globe and Mail.
You're with the Globe and Mail. You guys repeat the same language you get from the radical liberal NDP activists and bureaucracies.
Yeah, he wants people to repeat the language that he's using all the time with the wackos and the lunatics and the radical left wing. I wish Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh were radical left-wingers. I really, really wish that. It'd be nice. But no. Liberals are center-right right now, and NDP are pretty centrist.
You call them safe. How can they be safe? You think it's safe when a bullet comes flying out of one of these sites to kill a mother in Toronto? You think that's safe? You think it's safe to have people using crack and heroin and cocaine next to a playground like this? You think that's safe? It's not safe.
Supervised injection sites.
They're drug dens. They're drug dens. And they've made everything worse. Everywhere they've been done, they've made everything worse. And I know what you'll do now. You'll now go and call the same bureaucrats who caused the chaos, and you'll call them experts. The people who caused the 400% increase in drug overdose deaths in Vancouver. You're going to...
A lot of the drug issues has to do with despair. You know, people who can't afford to stay in a home, can't afford to get the food they need, lack of health care, lack of living any sort of life. For a lot of people, you know, if you are totally able-bodied and able-minded, when you go unhoused, you lose those really fast. Nobody stays able-bodied and able-minded dealing with that level of stress. And to call them drug dens, these safe injection sites that save lives, they save lives. But to demonize them like this, to stigmatize the people who need to use them, it's disgusting. If he gets into power, this is what we can be expecting in this country.
I call them experts. They are expert at destroying communities and ending lives, but at perpetuating their own industries.
So far he's already accused, you know, Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh of being like the radical left. Now he's accusing the media of using false framing. Now he's accusing experts of not being real experts. Like, is all of this sounding familiar? Certain types of rhetoric that have been coming up from, you know, the United States, maybe?
Because that's what they are. They are industries that want to expand, and the only way they can continue to exist is by keeping the misery going. So they're not safe. They are unsafe injection sites. They are drug dens, and we oppose them. The Supreme Court has been very clear that there's not, these radical bureaucrats don't have the right to open these drug dens anywhere they want. The court made it clear that there are reasonable restrictions that can be placed on them, and that includes playgrounds. So I've told you my policy. I'm against the drug dens next to children's playgrounds, schools, other places where people who are vulnerable in the community live. We will.
He wants to get rid of all of them, regardless of where they are. And the thing is that safe injection sites need to be in spaces that are accessible to the people who need to use them, which usually means around other people. You can't just plop a safe injection site out of the city and expect people to be able to go and use it.
Defund them. There will not be a single taxpayer dollar. I'm against the drug dens next to children's playgrounds, schools, other places where people who are vulnerable in the community live. We will defund them. There will not be a single taxpayer dollar from the Poilievre government going to drug dens. Every single penny will go to treatment and recovery services to bring our loved ones home drug-free. Thank you.
A lot of those treatment and recovery things that he's talking about aren't actually covered under our universal health care. You know, a lot of that not covered. So he just wants to defund all of these safe injection sites, in essence, shutting them all down regardless of where they are.
Yes. Nice try. Nice try. The Supreme Court didn't say that. See, I know what you're trying to do. The Supreme Court didn't. No, I'm giving you my answer. The Supreme Court did not say that there can be. Okay. The Supreme Court didn't say that you can have a drug den wherever you want. It said that there are reasonable restrictions that can be placed to stop them from opening up in locations that endanger the community or where there is community opposition. That's what the Supreme Court actually said. Now, I know that wacko politicians and the Liberals and the NDP and their supporters in the media want to make it sound like there's a constitutional obligation that we allow these drug dens anywhere they want to go up. That is not true.
And nobody's actually saying that. There are restrictions that they can't just go up wherever they want.
That is the opposite of true. We have the power under Section 56.1 of the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act to reject these drug dens and shut them down where they endanger the public, and that's what I will do.
Referring to them as drug dens is just so disgusting, and as the SERVs point out, safe injection sites are proven to slow the spread of HIV and other diseases, prevent deaths from overdose, provide resources and services for people to quit or migrate to less harmful substances. All his policies will result in more death, and they will. Because where are these people supposed to go when you shut down these safe injection sites? They go to places that aren't safe. They use things that aren't safe because you push them out. You get rid of their ability, their small ways that they can help themselves. You're taking that away. Yeah. Safe injection sites have been proven, as the SERV says, as Lance says, they have been proven to help. And you can talk to the people who've worked at these sites, the amount of people they've saved from overdoses who would have died anywhere else. And every time, someone is saved, that means that they stand a chance of getting better because, you can't get better if you're dead. But they don't care. The conservatives don't care. And the language he's using, the way that he's framing it himself, but then accusing the left of framing it, it's all the same tactics that you see happening down in the United States. They're happening here. Which is why, a lot of Canadians pay attention to what's happening down there, because a lot of their rhetoric and their politics, it trickles up here. We have trickle up politic rhetoric And here we have the CPC are constantly rage farming with their political theatrics while people die. These are vital services for people. They have reversed over 50,000 overdoses since 2017. More people would be dead without them. A bar is more of a drug den than this health care service. And that's from Zoe Dodd. And this is on the Conservative Party Twitter feed. Justin Trudeau refuses to call his safe injection sites for what they are, drug dens. You know, what's a bar? It's a safe ingestion site, for the most part. That's what a bar is it not? They just want these people dead. That's all it is. They don't care. They don't care. Yes, Vanessa, trickle-up fascism is what we're dealing with. And then here's this cute little tweet from Pierre Poilievre. Anna and I, that's his wife, climbed Mount Pierre Prairie near Calgary to find beautiful maple leaf at the summit. Bring home Canada. So this is the sentence that I want to focus on. Bring home the Canada where hard work climbs any mountain. Hard work. This is from July 10th near Calgary. I don't know if it was a record heat day. Some people are saying that, but from what I looked online, it was like a summer's day. They got all the way to the top of this trail looking like that. I've gone hiking. I enjoy hiking. I would not want my picture taken at the end of my hike. But the thing is he's all about the hard work, you know. These drug dens need to close, and the people that use them need to just pull themselves up by the bootstraps and do some hard work. He uses this rhetoric a fair bit. So this is from the Liberal Party. Listen to what Pierre Poilievre had to say in 2008 when Stephen Harper issued an apology for residential schools.
In 2008, the federal government, under then Prime Minister Harper, issued an apology. Now, along with this apology comes another $4 billion in compensation for those who partook in the residential schools over those years. Now, you know, some of us are starting to ask, are we really getting value for all of this money? And
are we as a country getting value from, you know, giving money to cultures we've genocided? Oh, is it that? You know, where's the return in investment when we do reparations? You know, where is that when we give money to residential school survivors that no amount of money will ever take away the horror and trauma that they've lived through? Won't make up for the lives that were lost in these schools. But you know, where's our payback for doing something good? God, he is a disgusting person.
is more money really going to solve the problem? My view is that we need to engender the values of hard work.
You see, Indigenous peoples, they don't need more money, according to him. They need to learn the values of hard work.
And independence and self-reliance. That's the solution in the long run. More money will not solve it.
Nothing will make up for what this country did. Nothing. But, you know, giving them money so that they can, giving Indigenous peoples money to help them rebuild the way that they want. It's a start, but nothing will ever make up for the horrors this country has done. The horrors that a lot of people don't know this country has done. And this is what he said back then. So this article is from June 12th. Oh, wow. No, that's last month. Okay, I'm thinking that's really close to the same date in 2008. But here we have, so my view is that we need to engender the values of hard work and independence and self-reliance. That the solution in the long run, more money will not solve it, Poilievre said. The MP also suggested that Aboriginal chiefs have too much power. They have too much power, too much. That gets to the heart of the problem on these reserves, where there's too much power concentrated in the hands of the leadership. And it makes you wonder where all of this money is going. That is horrible. That is racist, horrible. Yet he stands a good chance of becoming the next prime minister of this country. Accusing Indigenous peoples of just, you know, using the money for their own self-interest, that there's too much power on these reserves. And yet he's the one wanting to concentrate all the power of Canada into his hands if possible. Just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But so for the first time, and this is from APTN News, if you want to find out what's happening with Indigenous peoples in this area, in this country, this is a great news source. They cover all the issues from their perspective, and it's wonderful. So for the first time since becoming Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre attended this year's Assembly of First Nations annual General Assembly. But he was met with mixed reception and some turned backs by chief and veterans at the assembly. And this is the video here.
Himself by the chiefs this morning for not mentioning his action plan for MMIWG and not recognizing residential school survivors during his morning keynote address to the chiefs. Poilievre was also questioned why he did not mention a plan to address climate change and was told not to commercialize the lands and resources for infrastructure and jobs. Several leaders and veterans also chose to stand and show Poilievre their backs during his speech. If he is to become the next prime minister, Poilievre talked about conservative values being the same as Indigenous values. He promised to cut the bureaucratic red tape to streamline much-needed infrastructure projects in First Nations. He wants to make sure the revenue made from the resources will go directly towards First Nations first and help build more housing and bring down the cost of food in the north, among many other promises.
This is my first meeting with you in person, but I hope it will be the first of many. I want the next generation of Canada and the next government that I hope to have the privilege to lead to build a genuine partnership with First Nations, a nation-to-nation relationship based on the recognition of rights and mutual respect.
His speech ended with some chiefs
He doesn't respect much of anyone.
shouting at Poilievre that if he is to become Prime Minister, he needs to answer more questions. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was up next and used much of his time to discredit everything
Whoa, that was weird. Yeah, after Pierre gave his little speech, he left without answering any questions from the people in the audience.
Poilievre said and advised the chiefs not to trust him. He then noted a list of accomplishments the NDP has helped with for Indigenous people. He also offered to stay longer for more questions from the chiefs, which was met with cheers and applause. Here is what one of the AFN participants had to say who gave Poilievre his back, alongside a First Nation veteran, along with comments from Jagmeet Singh on Poilievre.
And I saw the veteran standing with his back to Pierre Poilievre. That's when I started. I could feel my Two-Spirit ancestors were like, you got to do something as well, because Pierre Poilievre has publicly attacked our Two-Spirit community and members of our Two-Spirit community, and he hides behind parental rights. So I talked to members of my council, I talked to the women's council who were sitting behind me, and my aunties were like, go stand beside him.
Clearly he's not someone that's going to stand on the side of Indigenous people. And I feel like it was obvious in the room. The chiefs and the leadership knew that as well. They knew that the Conservatives, specifically Pierre Poilievre, did not actually come with a real message that connected with what they're going through. It's clear who he is. He's shown who he is to Indigenous people multiple times.
More resolutions will be discussed this afternoon on fisheries, education, and treaty, along with reaction from the Harris family on the Skibitsky decision. Chris Nachkate, APTN National News, Montreal.